I think that the board, in preparing for a crisis, should be able to they have a knowledge of the company. They've reviewed the risk dashboards, they have a knowledge of what is happening, and then something happens, as it may always do at companies in their life cycle. And I think if they've put together a team, if they've put together a plan where they know what's supposed to happen when, who's supposed to be in charge of what contingency and extingency, I think they're in a much better place. Let's say, for example, that you have Bill Ackman decides to take 10%, and you see that he's looking for 15%, and you realize that now you might be in a battle. That Ackman might want a seat on the board, want you to change your strategic plan in some way. Then you need to be able to take the offensive, and that means you need to be prepared for the fight. Now, do you have a fight counsel? Do you have a fight solicitor, someone who can help you through that process? Have you prepared the lead director? Have you prepared the chair of the governance and nominating committee that there might be a need for them to go out and speak to certain shareholders to present the company's point of view vis-a-vis the investment that's been made by Bill Ackman and the positions that he wants to take? Or will you have to try and do all of that once he's sent his letter to you and it's been disclosed through the 8K process? That's the difference. The difference is being prepared. Well, it depends on the circumstances. In the Bill Ackman fight against Target, it was in the press that the company decided to change their mind on classified board, essentially because a large public pension fund said, you won't get our vote until you do that. I think that's a measure of control. When you're in a desperate situation, someone puts a figurative gun to your head and says, do X or else. If you engage and you're proactive, then no one's putting a gun to your head and saying, or else. You're meeting, you're listening, and you can decide at that time whether or not you want to go forward with the suggestion that's come from shareholders. You don't have to follow them, but you do need to engage with them. And that engagement may well make a difference in the margins as to whether or not they support you or they choose not to support you. But if you don't do that at all and wait till the crisis moment to reach out and they have a demand, well, you have to decide whether you really need their support right now and whether you need to accede to their request. Well, I think the key things that directors need to know about the new law, there are a couple. Certainly say on pay, there are some implications there from the advisory vote on executive compensation. They need to make some decisions about the frequency of the vote that they'd like to recommend to shareholders. They need to have an idea of what might happen with their compensation program and whether or not it's a program that will pass muster with the proxy advisory firms. They need to ask some questions around the vote on golden parachutes. And when should that take place, if that takes place? How should that be disclosed? They need to ask questions around clawbacks, particularly because the SEC hasn't developed any rules on clawbacks yet. That's something that's in the future, may not happen until sometime in 2011. But they need to be prepared simply by asking the questions about, is there something that we need to do here right now in lieu of rules coming out? And then we move away from that to preparation for proxy access. Companies who have serious governance problems, who've had serious executive pay problems in terms of being outliers on their pay in their industries, those are companies that need to worry about what will happen with proxy access. Companies that have had serious performance problems. Now, if you combine all of those where you've had an exec comp problem, you've had a performance problem, and you have some governance problems, and you're a big company, it's very likely that you might be on the list of the AFL-CIO or AFSCME or the Teamsters. If you haven't been, then it's less likely that you're going to be on the list of any of those activist funds.